Okay, welcome to this live stream, the latest live stream in a series that I'm doing on sculpting this female pregnant mother sculpture. If you guys have any questions, I'm doing a Q&A in the comments, so let me know if you have any questions. Just some exciting news, at least exciting for me, is I just got monetized on my YouTube channel. And so that is really exciting. I've been doing the YouTube for like 6 years. And so this is just a kind of a way to celebrate. Hello, I see people starting to arrive in the comments. Hey, if you have any questions, please let me know. Anything sculpture related, or it can be related to anything, and I'll answer the questions if I think they're interesting. And if I feel so inclined, so it should be good. In this, I'll just be working on this figure sculpture that I've already started. I'm liking where it's going, so hopefully by the end of this hour or so live stream, it'll be a little bit better than it is right now. And I'm still taking names for like possible names to name the sculpture, so if you think of any, let me know. If you're interested in sculpting, if you like this kind of stuff, then be sure to sign up for the free online figure sculpting competition that's coming up. I'm actually going to copy a link and pin a comment so that if you guys want to sign up for that, you can sign up for that. You'll sign up for my email list and then be able to get the information on that free competition that's coming up. And there's $1,000 in prizes as well as a bunch of other exciting things, and that'll start on April 24th, so it's coming right up in a couple weeks, and it should be really fun. We'll provide the photo references and everything, and you guys will have 2 weeks to sculpt a figure that's about this size, about 18 inches or 1/4 life size. 18 inches, 16 to 20 inches, anywhere in there is fine. Or in centimeters, 45 centimeters is what we're going for, but anywhere between 40 and 50 centimeters is the sculpture that competition will, or the size that you need to sculpt for that competition. Once you sign up, you should get some emails that'll have more information on that. So if you are interested, then I hope you guys will do that. And I'm just gonna go ahead and get into sculpting. Let's see. Luis says, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, I really enjoy sculpting. Hopefully, I don't ruin anything during this sculpting session, but that's always a possibility. But we'll just see if we can kind of have some fun with this figure sculpture. If you're interested in the courses, I teach online courses that go over everything I wish I knew when I started sculpting. And so there's a figure sculpting course and a portrait sculpting course. Both of those can be found over at proco.com. But if you get onto my email list, I'll send out regular updates on free lessons from videos in the course. And I do try to put out quite a bit of free content from the course just because I think that sculpting should be accessible to everybody. So even if you don't have the money to purchase the full course, I hope you guys will get going with sculpting if you find it interesting. I think if you try it, that a lot of people would find it just as enjoyable as drawing. And so if you're artistically inclined, or if you think you might be, I really encourage you to try sculpting. People usually ask about what type of clay that I'm using. So this is Chavant, or usually I use Chavant Medium NSP, which is like a oil and wax-based clay. This one's a cheaper clay, though. This is just a non-dry modeling clay. It was unbranded. I got it from Dollar Tree, and it came in a bunch of different colors. I bought just a bunch of packages, and then I took out the darkest colors and mixed together all the other colors, and that gave me this nice reddish brown, which I really like. I like the consistency of it, and so it's been a clay that I've used for quite a long time, and it works great. This week's video, so apart from doing live streams, I'll be putting out a video this week, and that one's going to go over my first viral not TikTok, but short on YouTube. So I put out a short that was doing pretty well, so I wanted to talk about that. And So that's what this week's video is going to be about. If you're not subscribed to my channel, but you're interested in sculpting type content or the type of content that I put out, that includes sculpting, but also I like drawing, painting, artistic things as well as building things. And so if you're into that self-improvement type stuff and just learning, then I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, because that is what I enjoy doing. And I am gaining a few subscribers, so it's been good the last couple of weeks. There's been quite a few new subscribers, and I'm really excited to have more people on board for this journey of sculpting. So let me know if you guys have any comments, and I'll just be working on kind of refining and defining some of these forms, doing some of the texturing, and then maybe cleaning some things up as well. Just kind of having fun with this sculpture, and we'll get going. So let's see. I'm gonna stand up for a little bit, and then I actually also might zoom in the camera a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. Let me make sure I'm getting everything onto. Okay, there we go. So somebody's asking, can some clay damage your skin? Well, I'd say if there is a type of clay that would damage your skin, then that's not very good to use. I don't know of any that can damage your skin, but there are some clays like epoxy clays. So epoxy clay might have that potential just because it uses a chemical epoxy to set up as you're sculpting. And so usually with that, people will wear like gloves or things like that when they're sculpting epoxy clay. But I mean, you can use other materials other than clays to sculpt. Like I've thought about doing a sculpture using resin, like air dry resin that's usually used for like caulk, like windows and things like that. So sometimes materials that are for building materials or things like that, they can be a little bit cheaper. And I've used resin or silicone. It's just 100% silicone caulk. And I've used that for mold making, and it works pretty decently, but I've thought that it would be cool to make a sculpture out of it. But that stuff is pretty nasty. It air dries and smells terrible, and it's not good to get onto your skin. So if I was to do a sculpture like that, I would just use tools and do it outdoors and things like that. But as far as this type of clay, it's pretty safe. It's like fine for kids and things like that. So you don't have to worry about that at all. It's just a modeling clay. It doesn't dry out. It's like oil and wax based, and so it works great. Right now I'm just coming in. I'm just gonna kind of try to clean up the base a little bit, get it a little bit smoother. We'll say that she's standing on maybe like a box type stand, and that'll be her, the stand for the sculpture. It's a little bit uneven because I've removed some clay earlier, so I might fix that. But before, I wasn't exactly sure where the feet were going to be, so I might take some time just to clean things up and maybe make this stand a little bit more, a little bit cleaner. Let's see, somebody says that's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's a fun sculpture. It's been fun. I've done most of this actually. Well, it started during a 3-hour live sculpting session. There was a local session here where I live in Cache Valley. And so we just had a live model that comes in, and then we split the model fee. And so she posed for 3 hours. It was a 3-hour pose, and the pose was a lot stiffer, but I've kind of added some gesture to it, and I've changed the pose quite a bit since then during live streams. So most of the work that I've done has just been during these live streams, kind of having fun with it. Some possible titles that people have come up for this sculpture is Anticipation was one, Sarah with Child was another. Let's see. Vicky the Vanquisher was another one, though that one's maybe a little bit too intense for this particular sculpture. But if you guys have an idea of names or things that you'd like to call the sculpture, just let me know. Let's see. So I'm just gonna come around with my just a butter knife. I like this tool, and I'm just gonna start to refine and define the details. Gonna start to remove the texture of the, that I made while I was handling it, or just adding pieces of clay with my hands. Just gonna kind of smooth things out, round things off by rolling the blade across the surface. Trying to come at it from different angles to make an interesting texture. See, this tool is a homemade sculpting tool. There's a lesson on how I made this type of tool just using a pen, and this one I used a paper clamp, but you can also use paper clips and epoxy, so a two-part epoxy. All materials you can usually find at the dollar store or Walmart for pretty cheap. They're inexpensive materials, and making your own sculpting tools can be really helpful. I like this one for some of these inside areas, like this little pinch in here allows me to work in these areas and remove some clay in a way that I really like. So making your own tools can be a really helpful skill to have if you're interested in sculpting. And that lesson, that's on the Proco 3D YouTube channel. All of the free lessons for the figure sculpting course and portrait sculpting courses that I teach, those are all available on the Proco 3D YouTube channel. So I'm just gonna be using this tool to try to refine and define the forms a little bit more and work things out and round off the cylinder of the arm. I want to make a little bit more detailed, or accurate, I should say. So I just I'm doing a video this week that'll go over my first viral short, like the first viral short that I put up on YouTube. And so I'm interested if you guys have any questions about it. A lot of people from recent live streams has said they saw the short and that's where they came from. The short is like the simplifying a head, so I'm like cutting off the features of a sculpture that I did, and I want to do a video talking about that, just kind of my process for making it and how I almost didn't make it, and then also just being consistent if you're a creator, being willing to do things for a while just because you enjoy doing it. So I think if you're interested in art or sculpting and eventually you want to be able to monetize it in some way, so you want to be a professional artist or sculptor, painter, or even just content creator, there has to be some enjoyment in the process itself, because it takes so long and it's so involved that if you don't enjoy the process, like there's so many easier ways to make money. Being a creative person, an artist or something like that, Let's see. Somebody says this is very cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's fun. Fun process. So being an artist or a creative of any type, it's very hard to monetize because there's a lot of people that would like to be able to monetize being creative because it's enjoyable. It's an enjoyable thing. So you have to be skilled. You also have to be you just have to be consistent and constantly creating new works of art. If you're an artist, if you're into content creation, you have to be creating new content and constantly improving and just kind of enjoy that process. Because if you don't enjoy the process, then it's just there's easier ways to make money. So that's what if you're interested in actually making money doing something like if you're interested in making money doing sculpting or drawing or whatever it is, then you have to be willing to do it for free for a while, because that's the only way you build up the skills required to eventually make money, but then also just the audience. Because a lot of these things, especially with like AI nowadays, people can type in the description of an image and get something that's very interesting, somewhat realistic, looks artistically done, but it's not created by a specific person. It's just generated by AI. So what people add as an artist, what you can add is, who you are as an individual. And so it's something where more and more you actually have to build a relationship with the people that support your art or, might support your art or your work, because then they're supporting you because you're you, and because your work goes along with that. Somebody says, this is so amazing. Have you ever tried digital sculpting? I have, just a little bit. I've tried it just a little bit, but I've been so focused on what I do, which is teach traditional sculpting like this online, that I've really just been focusing on that, like the courses that I teach. But I do see the value in being able to sculpt something digitally. I mean, it's much easier to like collaborate, and if you needed to, or if you wanted to sell something as like a 3D print, where other people could just print it or purchase a 3D print, that's a lot easier with digital sculpting than it is with traditional sculpting. So I definitely see the advantage of doing it that way, but I haven't gotten into it that much myself yet. But maybe I will at some point. It seems like something that I would enjoy, though there is something to working in a traditional way, with a medium that is similar to what people have done for thousands of years in the past. Clay, people have been sculpting clay forever, even though, maybe this is a little bit different type of clay. It's a oil-based clay, and most people throughout history have sculpted water-based clay. It's still clay, you're still kind of participating in that same tradition, whereas digital sculpting is really new, and so it doesn't have that history, that rich history of work behind it. But I definitely see the value and like convenience and everything of digital sculpting, and I know some great digital sculptors, so that's something that I might get into eventually. But right now I'm just focused on traditional sculpting. And if you are too, you should sign up for the free competition that's coming up. April 24th is when that is going to start, and you'll have 2 weeks to sculpt the figure. We'll provide the photo references, and there'll be people all around the world joining this competition, and it should be really fun for anybody that's interested. Let's see. Somebody's asking, when you're done with the pregnant mother, can you make a character like Blue Beetle from DC or Nova from Marvel? I don't know if I'm familiar with those characters. Those sound like more, like I don't recognize those names. I haven't done a lot of sculpting like comic book characters or anything like that, because I'm not actually sure what the guidelines are with selling work that's based on a IP that is owned by a major studio like Disney or, well, Disney pretty much owns almost everything. So I don't know, like if I could sell those or anything. So that kind of becomes a little bit discouraging when you're thinking about like what work to produce. But we'll see. Maybe I just need to learn more about how to do it in a way that doesn't infringe on copyright or something like that. But yeah, comic characters are really fun. That's how I learned to draw from there's a book that was just on how to draw. It was like the anatomy, comic book anatomy or something like that. And it was one of my favorite books, and I really learned a lot from that one and had a lot of fun with it. Because comics, they're so exaggerated. It's really fun how they take the figure and really, like, what would you say? They make it iconic in a way, more exaggerated than what you'd find in reality, which is pretty much what the ancient sculptors would do. Michelangelo's David and a bunch of these other ancient sculptors, they would often exaggerate the musculature or the physique of their models so that they're more than reality. They like pushed it farther. In a way, I like to call it hyper anatomical, but it really is a fun way to sculpt and create things artistically, just because it's really interesting, and it's hard to fake. Like, it's hard to fake that knowledge of anatomy and things like that. So it's also, if you can do it well, then it's really impressive because it shows that that you understand anatomy and things like that. Yeah, they say, I guess that would be dangerous ground to tread upon. Yeah, yeah. Disney, I think, well, my opinion is at this point that a lot of the IP that Disney has purchased, that really it should be in public domain by now, because a lot of it's like older, especially their older videos and things. I don't think that people that own Disney now have any more of a relationship to the content than people that in America that have been watching it since they were little. I think a lot of the IP that quote unquote belongs to Disney, a lot of it should be public domain, because I think it belongs to all of us at this point. The people that created that IP, a lot of them aren't alive anymore, and they're not receiving royalties for it. And Walt Disney isn't alive anymore, and he's not. Maybe his grandchildren or great grandchildren are receiving some of the money from that. But I think after a certain amount of time, that should just be given to the public, and people should be allowed to do with it what they will, and participate in these great creations of people of the past. People that have kind of pioneered the way. And I think a lot of what Disney does at this point is they're just trying to milk these things, but in a way that's not really super creative or benefits anybody in any way. So that's just my thoughts when it comes to that thing. I mean, I could see things that are not very old, 50 years or younger. That IP maybe they have more of an argument for, but things that are 75 or 100 years old, I'm like, why does this company own it? Like, the people that are working in this company are not the same people that were there 50 or 100 years ago. So why does this company get like a permanent ownership of other people's work, that at this point I think should belong to everybody? So I guess that's my little rant on Disney. But I think Disney like lobbied to have the laws changed so that they wouldn't lose any intellectual property when it was supposed to be turned over to public domain. Like, they lobbied so that they could keep the monopoly on the content that had been produced earlier in the company's existence. And so I think it should go back to to basically the people. A lot of what Disney has should be public domain at this point, so that other artists can take and do new things. But I guess we just need people to create new things, new characters and things like that. Let's see. I'm going to come here and work on the back for a little bit. Right now I'm really just simplifying. I'm not trying to like add anatomy or anything like that. I'm really just working on the texture and trying to make things look good from different angles. But I'm not that worried about the like changing the anatomy too much. I am looking at the silhouette, so that if anything, I want the silhouette to look good from different angles. That's a really important thing for sculpture, I think. And so I'm just coming around, and if there's somewhere like this hip, I felt like it would look better if the hip was coming out a little bit more, so I'm just taking little pieces of clay and adding it to the surface and refining and defining those forms. Who is the model? Somebody's asking. So this started from a live modeling session that was just local here in Logan, Utah. A model I hadn't worked with before, but we only had 3 hours to sculpt from that from the female model, and she wasn't pregnant. So I've changed the pose and the sculpture quite a bit from that, but that's kind of where it originally started. And now I'm just kind of having fun with it and changing things and working on refining and defining the forms. But if you ever have the chance to go to a live modeling session, it's a great opportunity to work from life. There's just something different about sculpting from life compared to sculpting from imagination. It's just a better experience, or from images. The competition that we'll be doing, that'll be from images, but it is a different experience, a better experience to be able to sculpt from life. And that's sometimes, some areas they don't have very many artists, so it's hard to find a group modeling session. But if you are in an area where they have it, I definitely recommend trying to do that, because it's really fun. And I don't do it all the time. It was only like $10 when I did it for a 3-hour session, which is not bad at all. But even that, I don't sometimes I don't want to, go out and spend the $10, but I really should for the experience. So that's, I guess, a long answer. I don't remember the name of the model, but yeah, it was just a local model. Somebody says, I enjoy your live streams. Thank you. I appreciate it. They're fun to do. I wonder what time is the... I need to figure out what's the best time, and I need to be more consistent about it. I'm kind of... I've been inconsistent, so I should have a planned schedule so that people can plan to come on. Because some live streams, you know, there's more people watching at that time, and then some there's less, so I need to figure that out. But I'm trying to just do a bunch of live streams and then see what time seems to be the most active. But I will try to keep them going. They're fun to do. He says, keep up the good work. Thank you. Done with YouTube says, keep up the good work. Well, thanks. Done with YouTube. Yeah. Is there a story behind that name, I wonder? That's how I felt with Instagram. I was kicked off of Instagram, like, not given any notice ahead of time or anything, and they deleted my account, and I was so upset. And I had, like, 80,000 subscribers or something like that, and then my account was deleted, and I guess it was just like a mistake, like because it was reinstated the same day, like later that day. But I was just so upset about it, and I was just thinking, man, I'm putting a lot of work into building this audience, and then if I'd just been banned from the platform or something, there's no recourse that I can do. There's nothing I can say, and so I was just really upset, and it's been hard to get motivated to, post a lot on Instagram ever since then. But I definitely can understand the sentiment of being done with some of these. Do you like the book Anatomy for Sculptors? Yeah, that's a great resource. I really like that one. I really like Anatomy for Sculptors. It's a really good resource with visuals that really are really clear, really helpful. Somebody says stream on Twitch in arts section. Maybe I should do that. Twitch, isn't that mostly for like gamers, like people that do video games and stuff? I don't do much of that. But yeah, maybe I should expand on other things. It's just YouTube, YouTube's it's just where people are at, the other platforms, even the growing ones, they don't have the same reach or influence. So I'm doing YouTube right now, but maybe I do need to expand out and do some of these, do Twitch and some other platforms. There's an art section. I'll have to check that out. I'll have to see, and then compare the live streams, see if I get more engagement or something over there. More views. Interesting. Well, I guess, yeah, because maybe YouTube is a little bit more like saturated. So there's more people doing live streams at the same time. So maybe on Twitch, maybe you'd have like a smaller audience, but more people that are engaged in that smaller audience, or less creators or something. It's hard to find streams on YouTube, so there's less viewers. Yeah, that makes sense. Like, unless you're already following the channel or something like that, it's not convenient. And it seems like YouTube's not very good about like notifying people when there's live streams or new videos or things like that. So figuring that out. But I'm just recently switching my focus to YouTube. So, but maybe at the same time I should be looking on Twitch. I wonder if there's a way to stream on multiple platforms. I've heard of ways to do that, but I'm not sure. Or if there's a way to do it that doesn't cost too much. I'm sure there's websites that can allow you to do it, but it's #1 in India, and I'm watching this stream. Oh, interesting. Oh, it's 1 a.m. in India, and I'm watching the stream. Oh, yeah. You're staying up late. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see what time's the best. I've done some in the evenings that seemed like there was quite a bit of engagement. And somebody was saying that it was after one of my shorts went somewhat viral, and that on the short you could see that the person was live, like going live at that time. So but I think that short has kind of calmed down since then. So Done with YouTube says, I'd love to see you grow on Twitch. Have a good day. I'll stick around for a bit in the background. Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I don't know much about Twitch. I haven't done much with it, but I mean I've heard of it, and if it does get more live engagement, or if there's a way to do, like I've thought about doing live sculpting sessions, like group sculpting sessions, some way with maybe with provided references, or like a way that's more engaging to sculpt with students online, because I have a lot of people that are interested in sculpture that wouldn't be able to take a course from me directly because they're all over the world. So maybe that's something to look into, or doing it on through like Zoom or something. Let's see. Somebody said, do you contact Instagram support? I faced the same problem, and by mistake the system closed my Instagram and I got it back. Yeah, I think I messaged them, but then later that day it came back online, and everything was fine. But like right now, like I got notified on Instagram that some of my posts were flagged for something. But even though they should be okay on Instagram, because it says like if you're sculpting the undraped figure, that's okay if it's like for artistic or educational purposes, and that's like obviously what my work is. It's sculpture, so it's supposed to be okay. But then I've gotten like flagged that it's not okay, and that my Instagram has been like throttled, like they won't show it to new people. And ever since that happened, it's like the growth just kind of stopped on Instagram. So I'm just kind of tired of them. But I guess, the same thing could definitely happen on YouTube and other platforms. But I think there needs to be some sort of content creator rights that are recognized in the law, because if you spend your time developing an audience that's interested in your content, and then they can just take it away, they can just steal that audience that you built up and the people that followed you voluntarily, and at any time they could just say like, no, we just want to take this away from you, and you don't have any legal recourse to say like, well, wait a minute, I worked really hard for this. It's like you coming and stealing actual money, because a lot of the times that's what this is people's living. And so I think if you're gonna take away their audience, there should be some type of like legal process to say like, this is how you specifically broke the rules of our platform and have to be removed. Whereas now they can just say like, they can basically just say, we just don't like you, so we're just gonna take away your page, and there's nothing you could do if they say that. So that's a difficult issue. But I understand the argument that these platforms, they're their own companies, and they can do what they kind of the libertarian, they can do what they want on their platform. If they want to ban you just because they don't like you, then that's fine. But I think I think there needs to be some more protections. I'm kind of more towards the side of like that this is a joint venture between the platforms and the creators. And so the platforms don't own the audience 100%. The audience is shared between the platform and the creators. So it would be like you build a business with a business partner, and then they destroy your business, and then they say, well, it's my business, I own the business, but it's something that you built together, like in collaboration with one another. And I think that these big platforms, there should be something similar that says like, you helped build the platform, so it's a joint venture, and if they're going to kick you off, they have to actually prove that you have violated some sort of objective rule, and that there's a way to appeal where you could maybe go before a court-like system and argue your case in front of a jury and then have it adjudicated. Whereas right now, there's nothing like that. It's just whatever they say goes. Somebody says platform governance is very important in the current day and age. Yeah, I think once these platforms become the public square, which is what they have become, then it starts to get into, okay, freedom of speech. These companies started in America, and supposedly they've benefited from the American protection of rights, including the freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Those freedoms, the American philosophy is that those freedoms are not given to us by the government, they're given to us by God. And so the government's responsibility is to protect those rights from infringement, and that infringement can come from the government or it can come from private businesses. So if a private business tries to take away your rights or your life or liberty or anything like that, I think the government does have a role to step in and say, hey, you actually can't censor somebody for saying something that is like true or something that they believe or sharing a religious perspective. Like you can't censor for that reason because you're basically taking away this person's freedom of speech. And so that's kind of the perspective I have on it, that that these companies, if they're violating your rights, that the government has a responsibility to come in and say, oh no, you actually can't do that. Just like you can't steal from somebody. In a way, if these platforms steal away your audience, I think that's a form of theft. So he says, how are your drawing skills? Do you find sculpting naturally gives you the ability to draw better, or gives you draw ability, but I think the ability to draw better. Yeah, I'm pretty good at drawing. I am out of practice because I've been practicing sculpture so much, but I definitely enjoy drawing. I've liked drawing since I was little. I want to get more into it as I like. Maybe I'll even do a drawing course, how to draw like a sculptor or something along those lines, because I really enjoy drawing people, figure drawing, but I just haven't. I'm out of practice, so I'd have to get back into the groove of things. But yeah, I really like it. How do you build a turntable, or where did you get one? So yeah, I did build this turntable. There's a video on my channel that goes over it. I think it's called How to Build a Sculpture Stand. How to build a stand for sculpture, or something like that. So if you go to my YouTube channel and my videos, I think it'll be a couple videos back, but it wasn't that long ago. Maybe it was a couple months ago that it was released. And I show you my exact process for building this sculpture stand using, it's built on top of a metal stool, and then it uses some hardware that you can usually find at like Home Depot or your local hardware store. And I really like this sculpture stand. It's been good for me, and so yeah, there's a video on my channel that goes over it. Done with YouTube says EU has made some good moves, I think, compared to the US when it comes to platform governance. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear what they've done. There's some other stuff, some of the stuff that well, the issue is like when the government comes in, a lot of the times they say we're going to fix this problem, but really what they do is they just transfer it to the government. So now it's a government agency that's deciding. If it was up to me, what I would just say is that you can sue a platform for damages if they break their own, like if they can't prove that you broke their community guidelines before a court of law, then you can sue them and you can sue for damages. I think that's probably the best way to do it, because then, if they want to kick you off the platform, they actually have to show specifically that you broke, like which rules that you broke. And I think those rules should be more close to actual laws, like for example, incitement to violence. That's against the law. Telling a group of people, hey, go attack this person, or doxing people to try to get violence committed against them, that's already against the law. And so if people are breaking the law, obviously, then there's a case to be made that they should be removed. But a lot of these people that are removed, it's for political differences. It's for, like, they weren't calling for violence. It's just because the platform doesn't align with their views. And to that, I think, I think that's out of line. So, but I'd be interested to hear what sort of laws were put into place that the EU did that has helped content creators. Will you teach about sculpting animals? Probably not anytime soon. I prefer sculpting people. That's what I'm interested in, and so I'm not as interested in animals, and I feel like somebody that's more interested in that would probably create a better course. So I want to focus on the things that I'm really passionate about. And I just like people. I think people make the best art and are the most interesting subject matter for artwork, and so that's what I have focused on. But I think, I don't have anything against sculpting animals. Like if I had a commission sculpture of somebody, let's say somebody riding a horse or something like that, like obviously I have no issue with that, and I study horses in order to do a good job of that. But as far as like just sculpting animals for the sake of it, I just find people more interesting. Somebody says no, but I think people would take advantage of it. I think referring to the lawsuits against platforms. Well, I think yeah, that might be the case, but in order to sue, you'd have to like prove that you've been kicked off the platform, and then there would be a legal process to go through, and I think just opening it up to the possibility of having those lawsuits where somebody could say, hey, you took away my livelihood and I didn't break any of the rules, so you owe me either like you owe me for what you've stolen from me, which is my audience. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think if somebody steals your stuff, they have to pay the consequence for that. And if you ask somebody, well, would you rather, somebody that makes a living on YouTube, would you rather like somebody steal your car or your YouTube channel? A lot of them would probably say, well, my car isn't as valuable to me as my YouTube channel because I've spent a lot more time working up to my my YouTube channel than I have, the time I spent earning the money for the car. So it would be harder to replace the YouTube channel than the car. And so to me, it just makes sense that you have some ownership in your audience. And so if the platform takes it in a way that's malicious or unjustified, I think there should be a way to like take legal recourse. Obviously, there'll be people that abuse the system, but I'd much rather have that than like a new government agency that like oversees content and things like that. I think I think we already have laws basically that govern speech, and that those are enough. Because there's always loopholes in the system. Yeah. Well, it's hard to create a just system, but I definitely think that content creators need more legal protections, need more recourse when it comes to that. Because right now, especially in the U.S., you can't sue these platforms for basically anything because they're protected. as if they're protected like publishers, even though, or they're protected like public forums, even though they act like publishers. So a public forum is like where anybody can say whatever they want, and then you can't sue a public forum because they just say, well, anybody can say whatever they want. So you can't sue them for their speech. But publishers, they get to pick and choose what perspectives they put forward. So these giant platforms are basically receiving the benefits of both. They're able to censor people like publishers, but then they have the legal protections of public forums. So they're basically in this like limbo where they're untouchable legally right now under the current system. So I think that needs to be changed. They need to be treated like any other company, where if you're taking advantage or abusing the rights of your customers or your clients or people that you work with, then there should be a way to have legal recourse. Let's see. Somebody says, I'm not sure about that. At least here in Spain, you have the same problem. We do not even have fair use defined as we use the definition that you have in the U.S. Yeah, I mean, it's a worldwide problem, but I think it's the U.S.'s responsibility to solve the problem, because these companies started in the U.S. And they were able to get so big because of the freedoms that the U.S. guarantees for things like freedom of speech. And so that was a big part of YouTube. Obviously, if you don't have freedom of speech, then the government in other countries might have just shut YouTube down at the very beginning, because they wouldn't want people just saying whatever they want. But because we have the freedom of speech here in America, YouTube was able to just thrive and grow and become a worldwide phenomenon. And that might not have happened in other countries. So I think that YouTube and Google, these companies that started in the U.S., they do have some obligation to promote the freedoms that allowed them to flourish. Whereas it seems like they've just turned on the principles of the U.S., principles like freedom of speech, and become censorious government, like quasi-government agencies in and of themselves. They're not, and less accountable to the people. I think that's kind of out of line. I think they kind of turned on the principles that allowed them to become successful. Let's see. Consumer grievances departments should be implemented in major social media agencies. Yeah, but then it's still the company, and if they say, well, like we don't care, and there's no legal recourse, then it doesn't matter. Like right now, you can appeal to YouTube if you get kicked off or something, but it doesn't matter because they don't have to listen to you. They don't have to change anything. So I think there has to be like a change in the actual law that says that grants that creators actually helped build these platforms and that they have a part ownership in their audience. I think that's a pretty solid case that can be made in a court of law, that the work that you put in to build your audience helped build the platform, and therefore the platform can't banish you from your audience without some sort of evidence that you actually broke the law in some way, or things like inciting violence or things like that, or even just seriously broke the terms of service on the platform. Like if somebody's, if the platform has a rule against pornographic material, and then you're posting pornographic material, obviously I think that the platform should have the ability to get rid of things that they don't want to allow. And that's originally why these protections were given, for exactly that reason, to ban things like pornography, or other things that people were like, okay, well, it's reasonable to be able to ban certain content that is obscene, or that you don't want to have on your platform. But then they took that and they've used those freedoms to be able to ban things like political opinions or medical information or news stories that these companies don't like. And so I think they took the ability to do that, and then they went against the reason for it. And the reason for it was to protect the users, but now they're basically just enforcing their own ideology kind of on the users by censoring those that they disagree with. So it is hard. It's complicated. It's definitely a complicated issue. I understand, the argument. Well, these companies, they built the platform. If you're going to use it, then they basically still have complete ownership. But I do think it needs to be changed a little bit. Yeah, but maybe that's. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think it has to happen in the U.S. though, because these companies are mostly based in the U.S. and so if the U.S. allows freedom of speech to die on these platforms, then that'll have worldwide ramifications. And I think the U.S. is supposed to stand for the freedoms, God-given freedoms, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, right to self-protection through bearing arms. Those types of freedoms are what the U.S. was founded on. So companies that go against those or are antithetical to those, I think they should be treated harshly by the government or the country that gave them the ability to become these giant companies that they are today. Like, they wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the systems that were put in place by the U.S. that gave them these protections. Somebody says, I just saw your video on how to build a workable turntable, and it's amazing. So easy to build. Thanks a lot. Hey, I'm glad you actually went and watched that. That's really good to hear. And yeah, it's pretty straightforward, nothing too difficult, and I like those types of videos. So I hope if you go watch that, leave a comment, and I think that's a really useful video. So hopefully as my channel starts to grow, people will go back and see some of the useful videos that I've done in the past. Not all of them are great. I've been doing this for years, so I'll probably have some videos that aren't that great, but some of them I think, oh, this is like a really cool thing, more people should know about this, and so I do try to share those types of things. But yeah, I like this turntable. It's really fun. So if anybody's interested in how to make a turntable, you can go check out that video. Let's see, I'm gonna try to clean this up a little bit. This base, just by cutting away some clay. Yeah, I did a video about that, content creator rights, and then it was funny because right after I did a video on content creator rights, like the people that should have a ownership of their platform, like as soon as I did that, I was banned from Instagram, and then I was reinstated that same day. But it was like, I was like, man, this sure seems like a strange coincidence that like a week after I put up this video about that these platforms shouldn't be able to just ban you, then I was just banned, even though it was kind of like a false alarm. But I was like, man, this is exactly what I'm talking about. They shouldn't be able to do that. Okay, so we are coming up on 1 hour, and usually I like to keep these to about an hour. So I think I'm gonna start wrapping up the video. What I've basically done is just kind of cleaned up the base a little bit, and then just been working on cleaning up the features. Yeah, I'm liking how this one's going, and I think it is a little bit better than when I started. So that's always a good thing that I didn't make it worse, hopefully. If you're interested in sculpting, I hope that you'll check out the figure sculpting course or portrait sculpting course. Both of those can be found over at Proko.com, and there's links in the description. If you'd like to sign up for the free competition that's coming up on April 24th, and you can find the link for that in a pinned comment, or also there's a link in the description to all of my links, and there's a sign up link for that, and that'll add you to my email list, and you'll get updates with sculpture related videos or videos I put up on this YouTube channel. And so somebody's asking, how long have I been doing this? It's been about 6 years. So I kind of started sculpting when I started my YouTube channel, so about 6 years, and that's how long I've been sculpting. Really fun. Okay, I think that's everything. If you have any questions, let me know. Stay creative, stay productive, and I'll see you guys in the next video, next live stream. There'll be another one soon, so hit the notification bell if you're interested in that. Thank you, guys.